welcome to 3K to London. I'm Omar over here. I'm joined by Ebere over there. Hello, Ebere.
Hi, Omar.
In today's show, Ebere and I are going to list our favorite Arsenal and Chelsea players from the Premier League era. Ebere, are you ready for this?
Absolutely.
Okay, let's get to it. Just a quick note before we get started. When we originally filmed this, we assumed we would do an Arsenal 11, a Chelsea 11, and a combined 11 all in the same show. But as it turns out, the Arsenal 11 and Chelsea 11 took a little while. So we decided instead to split it into 2 episodes and give you a 2-for-1 special this week. Okay, so let's get to our 11s. We'll start with you, Ebere. You're going to list your favorite 11 of the Arsenal Premier League. I'm going to then list my favorite Premier League Chelsea 11. And then we'll let those guys battle it out and figure out where we stand with a combined 11. So off you go, sir.
So thank you. So this is my Arsenal best 11 of the Premier League era. Seaman, Ashley Cole, Adams, Campbell, Lauren, Vieira, Silva, Perez, Ljungberg, Henry. Now I'm putting Bergkamp in the, as part of the advanced midfield triumvirate. But I need to make a few notes here. I know, Lee Dixon, in the right wing spot is the absolute best, ever right-sided defender of Arsenal ever. But forgive me, I'm going to put Lauren in there because this is the EPL era. Arsenal best 11. I understand, that some people prefer Fabregas to Bergkamp. I don't know why that is.
I don't know who would do that either, especially not in the position, because if I understand it, what you've got here is basically a 4-3-3 with a pretty tightly center-packed middle three. You've got Vieira, Gilberto, and Bergkamp all together, and then you've got Perez on one side,
Ljungberg on the other, and Henry in the middle.
Yeah,
exactly. Exactly.
Okay. I will say, surely, I feel like even though I know Robert Perez had quite an impact on the best of the Arsenal years there, and he was a particularly formed a lethal combination with the other guys up front there. He was the worst diver I've ever known in the Premier League. I mean, really, maybe Ruud van Nistelrooy runs him close, but Perez edges it by his French nose.
You know what I would say to that? He didn't dive enough.
He didn't dive enough?
He didn't dive enough, yes.
Oh my, okay.
Oh yeah. He didn't do it, he didn't do it enough times. I wish he had done it way, way more times. How about that?
I don't think we felt, foul of his diving nearly as much as, say, Manchester United did. Probably because at the time, even though Chelsea was sort of up and coming, Manchester United was really the one that was up there with them. They were sort of duking it out every season. So all of those critical moments. Yeah, Perez was on the floor for all those critical moments,
Yeah, and he also chipped in quite a haul of goals too, So if diving helped his game, more power to him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd say that. I mean, this is a very strong team. Obviously, it's an all Premier League 11. How can it not be? I feel like Freddie Ljungberg and. I mean, I've said my piece about Perez. I think Freddie Ljungberg maybe also is a slight weak spot. I'm a little surprised that there isn't a far superior.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Are you serious? I mean, Freddie Ljungberg at that right attacking spot is actually arguably an Arsenal all-time first 11 at that spot. Yeah.
That's impressive. It's one of those things, where only if you've watched him week in, week out can you really appreciate that. And I will admit, I did not watch and do not watch week in, week out the Arsenal matches. So
plus, he scored a ton of goals. He was lethal from that place. And that's why Ljungberg and Perez actually scored way more than Bergkamp did. Bergkamp is peerless. I mean, he was a conductor. He was operatic. Where he was. But those two, in terms of goals, were way more productive.
All right, Ebere, that was that's quite a formidable lineup. I am impressed,
Are you?
as begrudging as that is to say.
Are you sure?
I think so. Yes. I mean, no. To be fair, that's an excellent side, and a lot of them come from, I suppose, similar to us. There's only one or two from my side that I think maybe I have more like two schools. Most of your players played together at one point.
Oh, these guys all play together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not quite the same with mine. So how about I give you my 11, and then we'll have a chat about that.
Go ahead.
So here is my Premier League era Chelsea best 11. Petr Cech, Ashley Cole, Marcel Desailly, John Terry, Branislav Ivanovic. In the middle, I'm pairing Claude Makelele with Frank Lampard. In attack, I've got Hazard on the left, Zola on the right, and a front pairing, very un-Chelsea, of Mark Hughes and Didier Drogba. It was tough to pick out the wingers, to be honest, with a plethora that we've had of such great ones through the Premier League, but hard to argue with Hazard and Zola. And Mark Hughes might be an odd selection, but he had such a great return for us despite the fact that he was supposedly in his waning years after leaving Manchester United, so I had to go with him. So that's my 11, my friend.
Yeah, well, I mean, this looks pretty tight, I think. But Hughes, though, I think Hughes is like a bit of a sentimental choice, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I don't think so. I mean, I think that there are a lot. Once Didier Drogba came, there was only one name in the striker position if he was healthy. And there were a lot of other players that, I would consider solid players, and in some cases stepped up and played really important roles, like Nicolas Anelka, for example, in the 2009, 10, 11, 12 seasons. Specifically, I think it was 11, 12 when he had his best season there.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't consider him to have been anywhere near the striker that Mark Hughes was, and even that, as Mark Hughes was on his way down, supposedly having left Manchester United, but still, he's got a highlight reel of amazing goals. He was just absolutely unstoppable.
So Hughes is the equivalent of
Giroud?
Giroud, yes.
Not at all. I mean, look, Giroud's a great player. I would say he's always struggled with that recognition of being a absolute top striker. He seems to be this perennially underrated guy who seems to continue getting it done. But Mark Hughes was a totally different character. I mean, really, he was just he was every bit the best striker you could imagine to have up there. He would just score from nothing, basically. He was a lot of Drogba, but in a an aging white Englishman sort of way, if I could say that.
If you say so.
Yeah.
I mean, Zola too. I'm not quibbling with the inclusion of Zola. I mean, I this is a guy I respect. He was outrageously talented.
Yep.
And very imaginative. I mean, he was in terms of just pure skill, I would rank him close to Kanu Wankwo, remember, who was just very silky, very smooth, very cunning, so to speak. But Zola had, such grit also, packed into, alongside his mercurial skills as well. So
He took a lot. He took a lot of beatings for a little guy. He was like the proto Eden Hazard in a way.
He did. Actually, yes, precisely, yes. He was, I mean, he didn't have the speed of Eden Hazard or some of the moves, but he was, in terms of skill, Eden Hazard's equal, I would say.
I think maybe he had all the moves. I think English football was a lot more industrial back then than it was by the time Eden Hazard got to the league. So it's just become so much different now, isn't it? It's hard sometimes to gauge. Even in the 90s, it's hard to imagine how players, really cultured players, managed in the 90s. You had to be tough. You had to be a lot tougher than you are today.
Precisely.
Yeah.
Precisely. Anyway, so this is a fantastic 11, as well. If I may, did I just say that
You
fantastic
did,
11 for
and
Chelsea?
I was about to say, well, thank you. That's very generous of you to say.
Wow, well, okay, it's a fantastic 11, but maybe it was it the encomiums aren't that full throated. Let me step it down a little bit.
Fair enough. It can only be expected. Okay, that's it for part 1. Make sure to check out part 2, where we take these 22 players and debate out which 11 make the final cut for our combined 11. I hope to see you there.